Hello everyone and welcome to the Armageddon Series, the show that hits you harder than a slam dunk from Hulk Hogan. I'm Grandmaster Simon Williams and I'm with my great friend, the lovely Ivanka Huska.
Pleasure to be here, Simon. And as always, I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to everyone watching live on television and also online. And remember, if you like what you see, please subscribe to the World Chess YouTube channel where you can catch up on all the action, all the interviews, and all the highlights of all the tournaments that have happened so far. And remember, share this video with your friends, basically anyone that likes chess.
And we should now just take a look at the highlights from yesterday. It was a fantastic day of chess. There's one of the highlights, me getting my makeup. And we had some great matches on that day. And the first match was Jose Martinez versus Sam Shankland.
And that was a real nail biter. It went down to Armageddon, and there we see the closing moments of the game where Sam was able to deliver checkmate in Armageddon with seconds left on the clock.
And the next match, which was quite potentially even more exciting, was Dominguez versus Terry. And this also went down to Armageddon. You can see them here banging out the moves at the speed of light. There was a little bit of controversy at the end there because where was the pieces? The pieces were just flying. It was a great and exciting match. And we're hoping for more of the same today. And I'm sure we're going to get it. Don't you reckon, Ivanka?
Of course, because this is Armageddon Championship Series 2023, the ultimate chess showdown of the year. And remember, there are 3 regional qualifying events: Americas, which is happening right now, Asia and Oceania, Europe and Africa, and finally a special qualifying stage, the Women's Armageddon Week. Might play in that one myself. A total of 8 players participate in each qualifying event, and there are 32 players in total. 2 players from each region have qualified online, while 6 of the strongest players have received invitations.
It's a great competition with some great, fantastic, superb players. And all the events are broadcast live from the World Chess Club in Berlin on Unter der Linden Street.
Yep, and we've kicked off all the action, all the series with the Americas. During this week, these 8 players, now down to 4, have shown us how it's done.
And you can see there the players which are barely visible have been knocked out already. The 2 online qualifiers both got eliminated yesterday. They had a pretty good run, and we're only left with the Americans. Does that mean the Americans are best?
Best by test. And when it comes to playing, we have to give a shout out to our partners, the FIDE Online Arena, which hosts rated tournaments and games 24 hours per day. Join the arena and you'll get a FIDE ID, a profile on FIDE.com, access to a pro chess community, as well as official online ratings and titles recognized by International Chess Federation. So go out there, play official games at chessarena.com.
And now it's time to have a look at the current situation and where everyone is standing in the competition. It's getting near the end. There's only today and tomorrow left, so make sure you stay glued to the stream. We're going to have a champion tomorrow, and you can see our first match is going to be Sam Shankland versus Leinier Dominguez. What a match that's going to be. And another match, which I'm very excited about, Wesley So versus Andrew Tang.
Yeah, it's going to be a battle between these speed demons. But first up is Sam Shankland against Leinier Dominguez, whereas in the winner's bracket is Andrew Tang, Wesley So. Let's dive deeper into Sam Shankland against Leinier Dominguez. And these 2 are such classy, well-prepared players. So let's check out how their stats are.
Definitely, we'll just do a little deep dive into them. And you have Sam there, who was a grandmaster at 20. He's playing fantastic chess in this competition so far. He's had a peak rating of 27.31, an extremely hard worker, very focused. We call him the mechanic here for his mechanical ability on the board. And he did also take part in the reality show Survivor. Now, yeah, interesting. He got knocked out in the first round, so he didn't do very well, but he had a go.
He did have a go, and he will be facing none other than elite player Leinier Dominguez. And whoa, take a look at some of those accolades. 5-time Cuban champion, Blitz world champion in 2008, member of the US team, and we can also add renowned second to Fabiano Caruana. So this guy is not to be messed around with.
And the show is all about speed and elitism, and you've got these two fantastic players playing. The countdown has started. There's no messing about here, which you'll be glad to hear. None of me talking too much. We're straight into the action in 40 seconds. I think this is going to be very close because Sam has looked so good. Before this competition, I would have bet on Leinier, but I really think anything is possible here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this match will be the ultimate battle of the wits. I mean, both players incredibly well prepared. Leinier Dominguez is perhaps the most consistent of the two, but we've seen Sam come to every single match with a plan, with a strategy, with tricks up his sleeve. 10 seconds to the start of play. The lights are blue. They are soon going to change, and we're going to see the players shake hands and start the game. That's it. They are off. First move from Sam. How is he going to open? He can open in many ways. He chooses the English, and we see Leinier open in the most solid way by pushing his e-pawn 1 square forward. So, critical question here for Sam. Is he actually going to advance the king's pawn 2 squares forward? And he does. And did you see how Leinier just whipped out those opening moves? He knows exactly what he's got to do. I actually had a game against you, Simon, in this particular line.
Now, because you're laughing, you lost?
Yes.
Oh wow! I thought that laugh must mean I lost, but it's probably when we're 8 years old. But I sort of seem to recall it vaguely in my memory. But it's a very exciting opening. You can see both sides' pawns have rushed up the board. The white pawn has gone straight into black's territory, and the black pawn has come straight down into white's territory. It's most likely that both of those pawns will get exchanged. Wow! Look at Sam's heart rate. He's super chilled today. 81. That's quite incredible, actually. A lot lower than Dominguez's.
Yes, and just to kind of give you a kind of an estimation of what a normal resting heart rate is, it's between 60 and 100. And the general rule is the fitter you are, the lower the number is. And we see Sam, you know, he's kind of said it himself, he's super fit. He's not quite an elite athlete yet, but he's hovering around 95. But for Dominguez, he is still finding the surroundings quite stressful. He's got a heart rate of 128.
Yeah, and they're now into, I would say, the start of the middle game. Of course, chess has 3 stages: opening, middle game, ending. If you get that far, you might get crushed in the opening or the middle game. And the pawn structure is symmetrical, so there's 2 ways to assess a position: pawn structure and pieces. And actually now, Sam is offering an exchange of queens. So he's trying to get into the ending, but I think this is a clever idea, because if the queens are exchanged, white's knight will come into the center, applying pressure to black's knight. So a crafty idea there, and we know just how well prepared Sam is, so there's no surprise. Black now castling, and with that move, he's threatening to take the queen with his knight, which was pinned before. Sam eliminates the knight and gets castled as well. Is this all theory, do we think, Ivanka?
Just by the speed that these players are both just banging out those moves, I would say it is theory. I mean, but there has been a very committal decision by Sam played. You know, he has traded a bishop for a knight, and take a look at that pawn structure there on the left. It's completely ruined. I mean, this is as bad as it gets. But on the other hand, black does have the bishop pair in compensation.
Yeah, I remember from commentating with Ivanka on other events that Ivanka has told me many times that if the pawn structure goes a bit wonky, and black has this wonky pawn structure, you must have some counterplay with your pieces. And the difference in the pieces is that white's got a knight and black has a bishop on the light squares. And black's bishop on the light squares looks fantastic to me. It's got a couple of great diagonals. The queens are now coming off. That it can work on. So maybe black has enough compensation, because the 2 bishops is a big thing when there's open lines. And look, the rook takes an open line there. I love having a good pawn structure, but I'm liking the bishops actually in some respects here as well. I would say dynamically equal maybe.
Yeah, I would say that the position is maybe favoring black because of those activity of the pieces. And take a look at the evaluation bar, it's kind of inching towards the white side. So I would say the computer also agrees slightly better for black just because of the ease of play. And whoa, we see Leinier Dominguez just advancing his A pawn up the board, chipping away at white's pawn structure, taking away that good thing from him.
Yeah, keep an eye on their live board there, the wooden board they're playing on. And this is a very standard idea that Dominguez has played. It's a minority attack. You're using that little pawn minority on its own to try and cause some issues against white's massive pawns. He's made an exchange there and actually gets rid of that pawn, which I think benefits black because it was a weak pawn. And I feel that the two bishops are going to be doing a great job here. And with that last move, black is attacking a pawn. And if he can win a pawn, he's going to be cruising. So Sam has defended that by blocking the bishop's range. But at the moment, I would definitely take black. And the time situation, well, they're getting to that 1 minute stage. That's where it gets fast and furious.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can see Sam nervously checking out the clock. I have to say I'm very impressed by the way that Dominguez has handled this position, primarily because, yes, black does have a set of double pawns, but he does have the target. He is going to pile up the rooks on the B line and start attacking the B3 pawn. And I say that, and instead he's actually retreated the dark square bishop. The knight has to move, has to take a step backwards. And yeah, why is Sam thinking?
Yeah, Sam has to move the knight. A very good skill in chess. Look at the last move your opponent plays, see what the idea is. And he's done this idea, Dominguez, to get that bishop to that square attacking the rook. And look at those bishops. They're x-raying across the board there. And Sam has now had to give up a pawn temporarily. That black rook can zoom down and gobble up a pawn, which it does. On the other hand, Sam wins a pawn as well. But this exchange again I feel helps Dominguez because he's got rid of his pawn weaknesses. So now his bishop pair, they're looking pretty good, but on the other hand Sam has his rooks on very nice position, doubled up we call them, on the open file. That's where you want them looking after each other on the open line. So maybe it's not so bad for Sam here. The clock though is probably going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, and Sam applying good strategy there. When you are fighting against the bishops, it's always good to try and trade a set of pieces off the board, and we see bishop takes bishop on the board. And now Leinier, he really likes his double pawns.
He loves it, doesn't he? Yeah.
He does. I mean, it's not too concerning for the minute because there is an unpleasant pressure against that knight sitting there on f3. I would be actually tempted just to abandon that piece. And Sam says, yes, I don't want to defend those kind of pawns. I am just going to go and generate some activity, mobilize the rook.
To my eyes, this is looking like it's edging towards a draw because the ending, well, if you don't have a lot of material left and it's equal on points, a draw is the most likely at Grandmaster level. And we will most likely see some more exchanges. With the last move, Sam is not allowing his pawn. Well, he is going to have to double them, and a little bit of a sort of
hand check there. You know, he changed his mind, and there we actually get an almost symmetrical structure. Have you ever seen this, Simon? Where you see those three pawns on the king's side are all the same, doubled, rubbish.
It's totally symmetrical. The pawn structure now, totally symmetrical. And the thing is, even if you lose a pawn in these rook endings, there's a famous quote, all rook and pawn endings are drawn, but neither side is a pawn down here. So unless we see a horrendous blunder, which we might get, because look at the times, they're both on 11 seconds. So you can, of course, make big mistakes when the pressure is on, and the heart rate of Leinier is quite high. Are they going to repeat
They're going to repeat the position. The king and rook are doing a dance, and it is a draw.
Very comfortable game there from Dominguez with the black pieces. A draw is a good result with the black pieces, meaning he has the advantage of the white pieces in the next game. He has the opportunity to try and get something out of the opening, but the standard of that game seemed to be, again, very high. They didn't make any clear errors. Maybe Dominguez was slightly better with the two bishops, but those pawn weaknesses that Dominguez had kind of nullified any edge that he could have done. And here's one of the first highlights, Ivanka.
Yeah, when the queens come off the boards, I do feel that, you know, if we're going to talk about psychological advantages, that Leinier Dominguez does have the advantage. You know, he got a much more comfortable position. He did have Sam on the back foot, and now he will have the advantage of the white pieces. He will set the tone for the next game. And here we can see another position where the queens have been traded, and Sam decides to just mobilize his rooks and go for activity.
Yeah, but it's just the pawns. The pawns were so even, always sort of staring off at their counterpart, and well, that's why this turned to a draw. We saw those double pawns, we call them, where they're one in front of the other. They're not very nimble when they're like that, because they sort of block each other in a way. It's like, you know, I was walking down the street earlier, it was a Saturday here, and there was a couple of a gang of children in front of me. That's what double pawns are like. You can't get around them.
No.
They just block up the footpath. And the game, well, was certainly edging to a draw. And we've seen this tactic of getting a draw many times in this competition, where they repeat the same position 3 times, and they're going backwards and forwards, round and round. And of course, when you're going round and round, you can't make any progress. So a draw is a fair result.
Yeah. And Leinier Dominguez will have the white pieces. One of the things that I like about him, he's a great player that you can model your repertoire on, because he consistently plays the same thing. You know, he's mainly an e4 player. He plays in a nice, harmonious way. Sam, as we know, is also equally well prepared. You know, he came to us and said, hey, I've been following my courses. I practice what I preach. And 30 seconds away from the start of play, here we see the players getting ready. Their body language is telling us who is relaxed, who's slightly on edge. And I use the word slightly in the English, understating things, because, I mean, you can feel the tension. 12 seconds. 10 seconds.
And let's just remind everyone the situation here. It was a draw in the first game, so a win now would knock the other player out of the competition. This is the lower bracket, the losers bracket. These guys have already lost a match, so they can't lose another match. So it's double pressure here. I'm expecting a classical Sicilian, but it's not. This is a Nyadorf Sicilian, and this is one of the main variations of the Sicilian, of chess. And we see here a slightly more positional version, where white will probably castle kingside, which he does now, and so does black. And this structure is very, I say structure, again, you look at the pawns, it's very common for the Sicilian. Can white get his knights into those light squares? That's one of the key ideas. It seems to me that both players know this position very well. They're moving so quickly, right?
I know, you know, both players are just whipping out those moves of theory, and also taking a look at the heart rate. Sam, he is the coolest customer by far. You know, he's had like his heart rate at 80, even 70. Now it's gone up to 99. Perhaps when he reaches the stage when he's thinking about what should he do next. Because often when you reel out these moves, there comes a point where your knowledge is exhausted and you're on your own. And it's now Dominguez who is thinking, and he is considering what to do next. I mean, a natural plan would be just to harmonize the rooks and try to use the power of the d5 square. You know, if you could get a knight into that square, that would be a great piece. It wouldn't even be a horse, it would be a beast.
And a fan of this opening. Oh, look at that move. That is a very exciting move. The white knight jumps in. It looks like the black pawn can take it, but that would open up the black king too much. And a big fan of this opening from the black side was Bobby Fischer, probably the most famous chess player of all time. And I think he has passed away. He actually died at the age of 64. The 64 squares on the chessboard are quite appropriate. I think it was his 70th birthday.
80th.
80th, yeah, that makes sense. 80th birthday the other day. So I wonder if Sam was playing this in honor of the great Bobby Fischer, another American player. Back to the game, and with the last move, Black now has to contend with an idea that the bishop that just moved might take Black's knight. And as Jovanka mentioned, this central square, the white squares in the middle, could be a big problem for Black. The white knight can then fly in there. You want to remove the defender of those squares, and Black can do that now. And he has done it, so we'll see his plan in action, and there it is. The knight comes into that beautiful square, and positionally, this looks great for white, because that white knight, it can stay there, it can't be kicked away, and otherwise the black knight can be kicked away. It's kicked away by the white pawn there. The white pawn moves up attacking the knight, and now that knight has to move, otherwise it will be lost. You can't do the same to white's knight. So I would have thought this is looking good for Dominguez. Only a small advantage, but an advantage.
I think it's looking very good as well, and this is why Sam starts launching a counterattack, attacking the queen. The queen must move away, and I'm expecting him to use the open H line just to initiate an attack against white's king. Black has to do something. The queen steps away. I'm expecting maybe the knight to not trade itself for the bishop, but instead to also move itself to the e6 square. You know, knight is such a great defender, and there you go, hopping back to help the king.
Yeah, it's still clearly okay for Sam. It just seems a bit more preferable for white, and white now piles up the pressure in the center of the board. Normally your rooks belong in the middle of the board on what we call open lines or half open lines. Exactly what Sam's done there. He's moved his rook to an open line, and as Jovi says, Sam, I feel, has to attack on the king side because he has that open line to try and get to white's king. I can't believe, again, how low Sam's heart rate is, because the pressure is building. If you lose, you're out of the competition. The tension is super, super high. Do we still like Dominguez's structure, do we think? Position?
Yeah. I mean, positionally, you know, it's great. If he were to get the queens off the board, he would have such a straightforward plans of just doubling the rooks, piling up on the d6 pawn, eating that pawn, winning. But the queens are on the board, and whilst the queens are there, the white king is not going to be feeling very safe. And having said all that, Dominguez is like, you know what, I'm just going to attack that pawn immediately. And Sam, I don't think he can take any liberties there. I think he will be defending that pawn by stepping up his rook 2 squares.
That's right, and well, okay, this is also a very aggressive idea. The knight jumps in, and what happens now if the white queen goes forwards and captures a pawn? White might be able to go a pawn up, but is there some horrible idea where black can attack white's king in that position? We might see this. The white queen has to move. Will he grab the pawn? And I can't see at the moment any reason why you can't grab the pawn. Maybe you lose the exchange, right? There might be a knight check if you grab the pawn. The black knight might come in, which could be very, very uncomfortable. So the queen has to retreat. I think that was a poisoned pawn.
Okay, but now the momentum is shifting, because if Sam has been allowed to get away with this move, he has the skeleton of an attack. And you have to remember, when you're attacking your opponent's king, you want to attack with 3 pieces.
Oh, I really like this.
3 is the magic number. Look at that, you know, rook takes pawn is brewing, and suddenly, wow, the white king will be open, will be exposed to the elements, and that is going to be game over for Leinier Dominguez, and we are looking now at the situation critical.
There's a big threat here, and maybe you can play it now. This is critical. Can black's knight or rook take the pawn on the left-hand side? That is what we call a hook. It's a way to get a hook into white's position, and I feel that, okay, he's building up the pressure. He moves his rook down to double up rooks. I think he might have been able to get away with taking that one and sacrificing. He's playing it a little bit calmly. He's not going for the kill straight away, and this might give white a bit of time to escape. But look at black's pieces, they're all looking at white's king. Sam's doing a fantastic job, and Dominguez under 30 seconds now. Surely knight takes pawn is the next move from black here.
It's just crying out to be played. I mean, take a look at the white king. It has no protection around it. 15 seconds. And the clock is ticking down. He drops his bishop back. Now is the time.
Take it.
Take the pawn on h3. Do with any piece. It all looks good.
That's it. I mean, this is the key moment of the game. It's critical, but you don't have much time. Can Sam use either his knight or his rook to move and take that pawn on the right-hand side, opening up White's king, just ripping the defense away from around the White king? He hasn't got much time to think about it. He's under a lot of pressure. He's got 19 seconds. It's a very committal decision, because if you don't checkmate, you will lose because of your material. You don't have enough material. You've got to sacrifice. He's gone for it.
He's gone for it. And we saw the heart rate shoot up for both players. Now, Leinier defending this terrible position with just seconds on the clock.
And the queen comes down, and the bishop moves. There's a lot of pressure in the position, but White is defending fantastically at the moment. What a move! What a move! If the king takes the queen, bishop takes f2, would have been a beautiful checkmate. But I feel Dominguez is so far defending brilliantly, but there goes another piece coming into the attack. All the black's pieces are attacking, but black is a whole
He's just given up his queen.
He's given up his queen, and what happened? He lost his queen.
Lost.
Wow, what a game from Sam there. A brilliant game from Sam. I think Dominguez just cracked under the pressure, and that means that Sam Shankland has won with a brilliant attack, and Sam Shankland is through. Dominguez 170 heart rate. Dominguez is out of the competition. Brilliant stuff, Sam. I mean, what can we say about that attack? Beautiful.
Beautiful. And did you see the way he came up with those critical moments? Sacrificing the rook, sacrificing the queen. He threw everything at Leinier Dominguez, and there was just no way that Dominguez could hold off that attack with just seconds on the clock.
I think it was really interesting. You saw them having a bit of discussion at the end there, and I predict that Sam leant over the board and said, "Put that in your pipe and smoke it." And now we see some highlights from the game. This was the opening stage, and it seemed like they both knew what they were doing at this part of the game. And Dominguez having a bit of a think here. It looked like the opening went okay, and that was a lovely idea, trying to tempt Sam into opening his king. But instead, Sam brought his knight right into the middle of the board there, and things were heating up nicely at that moment. So yeah, it was very exciting. And let's have a look at another highlight now. And this is where Dominguez basically started to take control of the middle of the board.
Yeah, it looked like everything was going White's way. You know, he had nice control, but Sam, he just kept playing quickly. He kept playing in a straightforward way, and as we're going to see later, I mean, there was just no way that Leinier could hold off Sam's attack. Once he slipped up, it was pedal to the metal, and here it is taking the plunge.
This is beautiful. And there was a really nice move a little bit later on where Sam offered the sacrifice of his queen. It was simply stunning. He offered his queen for nothing. And I don't know if Dominguez is defending this. He's a whole rook up. So this was a all-in situation. If he can defend, he'll win with the extra rook. But Sam brings every piece into the attack. And that rook now swung into the attack. And the final blunder came with Dominguez only having 1 second. And he blunders his queen there to the knight. In a tough position, maybe.
It was a very tense position. And talking about tense, that was so intense.
It was. So we now have an interview, and we're going to start with an interview with the loser of that match, Dominguez. So.
You just lost a very interesting match against Sam Shankland, which means unfortunately we are losing you in this tournament. Let's talk about the games. Maybe start with the final one where Sam was able to create some interesting attack there in the end.
Yeah, I think after knight f4, obviously Black had a very nice position. I didn't realize that this was actually tricky for me, and then there are always this knight h3 or rook h3 ideas. But I think the way we played, I'm probably winning. I mean, I felt that it shouldn't be enough, that after I got queen e4, I should be winning, but I had no time, so it was hard to defend with seconds.
You played so many intense matches here. Is there ever a way, you know, to improve the time management? Was there something you tried to do in between matches, or is it just, you know, every game it's sort of the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, every game is difficult against tough opponents, and blitz is blitz. I mean, you have good days and bad days, so it's primarily about just having a good day, being in shape, and have some luck, and so on.
Now that the tournament for you is over, how do you reflect on the event? Did you enjoy playing in this format, this time control? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought it's a very nice event. I mean, I enjoyed a great deal. Pretty spectacular for the public, and even also for the players, as I said, from the first day, because we get to watch the other matches as well. And yeah, overall, I mean, I think it's a very interesting system. And for me, blitz is always fun, so I'm always in to play.
Well, Leinier, it's been a pleasure having you here. Thank you so much. For now, back to the studio where Jovanka and Simon are with Sam.
So brilliant last game there, Sam. I mean, I love seeing the sacrifice of a rook or two, and you also offered your queen at the end. That must have been quite satisfying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it was totally sound. Like in the final position, he can play knight g4, and he's definitely not checkmated. But I can take on g2, and then I'll take g4 at the end. We'll have some unclear endgame, or I certainly don't think black is worse. But yeah, I mean, I think knight e3 from him was very careless, and probably just slightly worse if he doesn't do that. But after knight f4, the attack is very strong. I assume he missed it. He cannot take on d6 because knight e2 is powerful. And it was very interesting at that point. So I felt when I took h3, there should be something there. I did not see a clean win when I did it. I thought there should be one there. But when I found this idea to play queen h2 and then bishop h4, rook h5, and I didn't see how he could untangle, I thought it was at least a good try.
It just looked really nice.
Yeah, it looked like not a smooth win, but certainly
Chaotic
something
game.
full of emotion. But I mean, I think you had to sacrifice, right? Because every single one of your pieces were
Of course,
crying out for that.
And at some point, like if I don't sacrifice on h3, if he goes bishop g4 and then kicks my pieces away, like I can easily become worse because my d6 pawn is loose. So yeah, I mean, when I started putting the rooks in the h file, I understood I have to sacrifice pretty soon, but it felt it should be promising, at least to me.
And one thing we've noticed is that your heart rate tends to be very low. You know,
Yeah.
most players are like around the 130 mark,
Yeah.
but you, when you're stressed, 107.
Yeah, I don't know.
What's your secret, Sam?
I stay in very good shape, which probably keeps me my base heart rate is somewhere between 55 and 60, which is, you know, far from like an elite athlete, but it's still very, very good, I think. And then I just keep a level head basically all the time. I think that's one of the reasons that I've won more tournaments than you'd expect for a player of my rating. Is just like at last round, everyone gets nervous. I don't care. I just play. You know, it's. I think it helps a lot.
Sam, you're not, I guess it's fair to say, known as a blitz specialist, but
No.
you're playing incredibly well here, just in general, it seems. Is there anything that has helped you?
I mean, I've worked a little bit on trying to play better blitz recently. I mean, I won a titled Tuesday, which nowadays is sort of the gold standard of blitz. I played badly in World Rapid and Blitz, but I played fine in Gashimov Memorial. At some point, I just, I definitely think that classical chess is what I've put basically all of my training effort into. I think it's the purest form of chess. It's also the fairest, just because I think that classical chess, there's a very healthy balance between what talent will get you and what hard work will. And in blitz, the balance starts to swing heavily towards talents. But the world is changing, and you can complain about the changes or you can adapt. And so I've tried to become better at blitz, and I still have a long way to go, but here I think I'm on reasonably good form. I mean, the only game I lost was this one to Wesley where I could have won in 12 moves, so I think I'm showing reasonably good chess.
Certainly, and I think you're playing some of the best chess out of everyone. It must be feeling good, and you're now through, so congratulations.
Thank you.
And yeah, we had some great chess there being shown, and I think we should now just have an update of the bracket now, just to see the current situation in the competition, and we can see that Sam is through.
That's not what your bracket says.
No, that's. But we know you won, at
Yeah.
least. So, Sam, you're through to the next round at least.
And you'll play the loser of either Wesley So or Andrew Tang.
Yeah.
Any preference? Obviously, you've played Wesley.
I mean,
Have you ever faced Andrew before?
I don't think I've ever played Andrew before, but I mean, Andrew's really a blitz specialist, but I still think I like my chances against him better than Wesley, because Wesley's like, he basically won the Magnus Tour with the online blitz stuff. He's really strong, and I already lost him in round one, so I guess I'd rather play Andrew, but I think either of these guys is pretty solid and will be a tough match for me.
Brilliant. And we're going to see the next match quite shortly. There's not long to go before that one starts, so we'll get ready for that in a second or two.
Okay.
And I'd like to mention one of our partners, Kaspersky. As a technology and digital privacy company, Kaspersky supports the secure advancement of chess in the digital space and its expansion in the online tournaments. A perfect combination of human excellence and strong technology.
And now we're going to warm up for the next match, and this is going to be a really, really interesting one. We have Andrew Tang, who is one of the most talented players around. He's so quick. He's famous online for the speed that he moves at. He's known for hyper bullet, and hyper bullet is where you have 15 seconds each, no increment for the whole game. You've got to be a little bit crazy to play that, but he's playing Wesley So, who's just a class act, one of the best players in the world and a very experienced grandmaster. So it's going to be exciting, Ivanka.
Yeah, and there we can see some of Andrew Tang's stats. You know, GM at 19 years old. He's an incredibly popular chess streamer, lover of very fast chess. In fact, his nickname is the God of Speed. And also he likes to do things like mental maths very quickly. He has a blitz rating of 2602, and we have seen in this tournament he is so calm under pressure. But his opponent is none other than Wesley So.
And Wesley So is just one of the greatest players around. He was a grandmaster at the tender age of 15. He's 3 times USA champion. He's won many events online, speed chess, long play chess. He is the top seed in this competition. So it's going to be exciting. I mean, can the underdog Andrew Tang take down the legend? I'm out of a lot of the games probably most excited with this one for some reason, because it's like David versus Goliath, and of course Wesley is Goliath, but you've got young David there with his slingshot.
He is, and I'm also very excited about this one because we've seen Andrew Tang be a very resourceful defender. He's got a lot of grit, a lot of resilience, and he did promise us one thing in his interview. He said he felt that he had a speed advantage over Wesley So that meant he would take it to Armageddon. And we're owed an Armageddon. We've had one every single day. 9 seconds until the start of play, and there we see Andrew just chilling out. It looks like he's just casually going to play any old game of chess, not just the Armageddon chess. Here you go. Wesley opening up with the e-pawn and Andrew Tang copying. And I have to say one thing about Andrew. Andrew has a very kind of unorthodox opening repertoire. He likes to fianchetto his kingside bishop, and there you go. He plays something unusual, stopping Wesley's knight getting to g5. But Wesley, he is not fazed by any of this. He himself has also developed opening courses. He knows exactly what to do.
Yeah, this is a well-known system actually from Black, and I've looked at this myself. You could have actually pushed that pawn 2 squares instead of 1 in front of the bishop, but a lot of interesting players have played in this manner. And the idea is at some point Black will try to push his kingside pawns forwards, especially the pawn in front of the rook. But Wesley, as well as being amazing at every area of the game, he's so well prepared. His preparation on the king's pawn at open is fantastic, and this hasn't phased him at all. Heart rates, Wesley's always a bit high. He's 139. And Andrew's is a bit higher than normal, actually. He's normally under 100. I don't know if that's a show that he's a little bit nervous in this match.
Yeah, I mean, the stats don't lie. I mean, that's one thing. You can't really fake a fast heartbeat. And Wesley just expanding as much as he can on the left side of the board there. This is a very popular strategy. You know, Magnus really set this up a few years ago. You know, you just take as much space as you possibly can on that side of the board. Get ready for the long-term battle.
It seems like Andrew's got his heart rate down a little bit now, while Wesley, 153. He's getting his workout. You won't need to go for the gym later. Just play some blitz chess. That's all you need to do. That's actually a really good way to lose weight. Rather than going down for a little jog, rather than killing yourself on a bicycle, just get the chessboard out and play some Armageddon.
Yeah.
I might try that. Maybe I'll lose a load of weight. Who knows?
Well, apparently, chess players can lose up to 1,000 calories per game.
That's pretty good.
That's very good.
not
So,
bad.
you know, get your heart rate up, get it pumping, and get the drama of playing chess, and add in some like spicy elements like Armageddon, add like nice financial incentive, and you got it.
Well, I think they could actually, you know, have electric shock chess as well. That could lose even more weight. Electrocute them when they play a bad move. Maybe bring that element into the next one potentially. But you can see Andrew is getting quite short a time, and he now busts out in the center. So he plays this pawn move, and this is going to gain a little bit of space for him. I think he's doing absolutely fine from the start. It's slowly heating up. Nothing to give for either side at the moment. And I don't know if that last move came as a shock to Wesley. I wouldn't have thought it should have done, but I like it. I like that. I like getting space, and Andrew gaining space for that last move.
Yeah. The one thing I would say about these type of pawn breaks is that you don't actually realize the consequence of it until maybe 10 moves down the line. And so far, it looks okay. You know, after all, the knight is now in the center, but we're going to see Wesley, you know, do a bit of repair work, just solidify what he has there on the left side, and then he will start maneuvering his pieces, and we will see whether this pawn on e5 is actually a weakness or a strength.
That's right. The black pawn in the middle of the board indicates that black has more space than white, especially in the center of the board, but it could be weak, as Jovanka has pointed out. In the meantime, Andrew just getting his last piece, the bishop, into the game. He might want to move his queen up next to connect his rooks, and Wesley gaining space on the left-hand side. That's where he is strongest.
Yeah, and we can see, taking a look at the clock time, that Andrew has just under 50 seconds left, and the action is just brewing. I mean, decision time. Does he take the pawn? Yes, he does. And will he then swap off a set of rooks? Will he perhaps try to keep the tension on the board? Nope. The rooks are off the board, and I'm expecting the black knight to maneuver itself. I mean, where can it go?
Well, it can either come to the edge of the board, and it does come to the edge. We have more exchanges. Wesley's heart rate is so high, 159, and he looks so calm at the board, but obviously the pressure that goes underneath. It's a bit like the iceberg. You can only see the tip of the iceberg, but below the surface, there's so much going on. And Andrew, known for his quick skills, he's going to have to play quickly for the rest of the game here. If he keeps at this pace, he will simply lose on time.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, we're seeing the consequences of Andrew's d-pawn break right now. I mean, take a look. The knight there is saddled on a very bad square on a5. It doesn't have a good square to go to. It's not on a good circuit. And still, Wesley has a very nice pressure against the e5 pawn, and he's building everything up. And talking about pressure, it has now been released. The pawn comes up to d4, and we see Andrew lash out with the queen attacking the rook.
Wow, this is a very interesting move. The black queen is going for activity. Now you have to work out some calculations here, some tactics, because for example, the bishop in the corner can come and attack black's queen, which looks very dangerous, and I'm wondering if that's a potential idea. Wesley calculating all of these things with his time ticking down. It's still ticking down. What's he going to play? But there is some problems also for Wesley. The pawn next to the queen is threatened. Black would love to take that pawn with the queen or the knight if it was his move. So Wesley catching up on time. Now, I like this. You've got to play actively. You can't just sit and defend. And this queen move, if it works, it will work well. He's grabbed the pawn. And I feel that this should be now pretty good for Andrew.
I agree with you there. I mean, I thought Wesley would perhaps actually play.
170.
I know. I saw it went shot up to 170. That's an exceedingly high number. And now the queen drops back. I mean, what I was going to say is I'm surprised that Wesley actually took that decision. I mean, I've always pegged Wesley as a person just to kind of minimize the risk. And we see Andrew 15 seconds. And okay, he drops his queen back. And now is the time for Wesley just to take the time out and just make some space for the king. Yeah, h3, nice move. And Andrew reactivating the knight. This is good strategy. Both players know exactly what to do with just seconds left on the clock.
They're both, there's not much between these two players in this game at all. The position looks fairly even to me. I think the clock, as always, is going to play a big factor, especially when you've only got 5 seconds left. 5 seconds versus 19, and we see some more pawns getting exchanged there. It's still equal on material. Now a queen exchange is offered. Again, I don't think there's much difference in the position, but it's this kind of situation when the stress is up where you could make a mistake, and one mistake is going to lose you the game. Maybe black is to be slightly preferred, but I'm not sure. That last move of Wesley, a great move, piling pressure on black's position. The black rook gets behind the pawn, and now Andrew is moving quicker. They're both under 10 seconds.
Yeah, and Andrew, he's playing in such a resourceful way, offering a trade of queens. The queens are now off the board, but once you start trading the queens, you have to keep an eye on this pass pawn that black has. And Wesley, again, look at the way he uses his rook. You know, he's putting on open lines. A pawn has dropped off the board.
Andrew seems to be on top of this at the moment. He's gone a pawn up, but the position is not simple because now Wesley wins a pawn back with a check on the black king. And Wesley has now blundered, I think. He's blundered a piece. Wesley has lost a whole piece. Is this going to be a major upset? His heart rate has gone up to 172. Can Andrew take the great Wesley so down? It's still not simple, and I thought it was a piece, but actually it was a pawn. Me hallucinating.
You had to be confused there.
They
and
agree.
then we see a handshake and they agree a draw.
Well, sometimes the experts get it wrong, and I just wanted to make sure that Jovanka was paying attention there. Clearly, that was nothing to do with me seeing the wrong position. It was a draw in the end, and it looked like Andrew was getting on top of it at drawing the end of that, but okay, it was actually under control, so my mistake. So, okay, but that means going into the second game, a win for either side will take them through. We'll have a look at the highlights. This is where the queens do get exchanged, I think around this moment or quite shortly here, but it was just a very well fought game, wasn't it?
Yeah, I have to say, at first I thought that Wesley was in full control, especially in the beginning. But Andrew, he's just showing us what a great defender he is. You know, he knows exactly how to keep the position under control. And I just love the way that even at the end when Wesley was applying the pressure on the position, he just handled it okay. You know, he just puts his king in check. He's got it all calculated. And what an exciting game. And we have to remind ourselves that, you know, whoever loses this match will actually drop down and face off against Sam Shankland. And here we see this critical moment, and just look at him. There is all sorts of unpleasant things happening towards that king. He just calculates, nope, it's fine, my king can remain in check.
I thought that bishop was a pawn.
Yeah.
I thought, what's that over there? I might need to go to Specsavers when I get home and check my eyes. That's one thing I've learned today. But going back to the position, position, it is actually just equal on material and a draw, a fair result. Probably favouring Andrew Tang a bit because, again, having the black pieces is a disadvantage, and he's going to have white in the next game. And that next game, there's no breather here, no time for me to get glasses at the moment. There's 46 seconds until what could be the last game of the day. Either side win, they go through, and they've playing fantastically. They've won every match so far.
Yeah, they absolutely have. And Andrew Tang just riding on the wave of Armageddon. You know, he's played some super fast chess, resourceful, showed a lot of grit, resilience. And Wesley So just seems to be, apart from this one little blip that he had against Sam Shankland, he just seems like nothing can trouble him. And, well, Andrew tends to open with the queen's pawn. Wesley is very solid. He won't be looking to take too much risk. 8 seconds until the start of play. Andrew looking as calm as always. And lights are going to change. They are off, and we have a move. Opening up with the queen's pawn. What are we going to see from, I was going to say, the London system, and there it is. Oh, I like the way that Wesley handles this. He plays in the most principled way, applying pressure on the d4 pawn. And now here is the key point. Bishop comes out, pins the knight. The white knight now cannot move from f3.
This is quite a rare system that Wesley has played. This is called the London system because in the tournament in London in 1922, this setup that White's playing with the bishop coming out was played quite regularly. So actually we're going back over 100 years when this opening was first made popular. And of course London is a fantastic city. But Wesley's approach to this is very irregular. I play the London system myself, and I don't know it much. So Wesley just trying to take Andrew out of his normal kind of comfort zone. And he's now moved his pawn forwards, and I think the idea that Black's adopting here is to get his light squared bishop on the other side of those pawns so it's not trapped in. A good positional decision from Black.
Yeah, and now that there's been a trade of pawns in the center, the game kind of takes a very solid way, basically, and White has to destabilize things right now because otherwise Black will have very good development. So I'm kind of expecting the pawn to come to c3, and maybe the queen will then come to b3 and start harassing the abandoned pawn on b7. Other things that you can do as White is, again, jump in with the knight into the center at the right time. Or another idea is actually just to maximize space. And talking about maximizing space, Wesley not playing in a very conventional way. I was expecting the knight to develop, and instead we see him prepare this potentially this pawn break e6, e5.
It's a very risky move which Wesley has played there, and we see Andrew now playing a standard idea, as Jovanka mentioned, just attacking on the queen side. But this pawn move that Wesley played on the right-hand side, I'm shocked that he's done this. You know, it's risky because it gets in the way of the black knight. The black knight on the right-hand side is still sleeping. It's still in its bed. It needs to put its pajamas on, maybe brush its teeth, get its pants on, put its jeans on and get out of bed. But it's not going to do that when there's a pawn in the way. And Wesley pushing all of his pawns on that side. But where's his king going to go? Surely the black king is going to be exposed later on. Andrew just doing some nice maneuvering. Their heart rates, well, okay, Andrew a lot lower than Wesley's, as we've seen, and the evaluation bar is floating around the middle at the moment.
Yeah, but you know, I've always associated Wesley with playing very safe chess, not taking too many risks, but if you provoke him, then boy, you have angered the bear. But here, Wesley is playing in a very aggressive style. You know, he's pushing his pawns forward. He's simply asking Andrew, what are you going to do with that cluster of minor pieces that don't have any good squares to jump to? And again, what is White going to do with the king? Are you going to go to the right? Are you going to go to the left? It's not an easy decision. Whereas for Wesley, Wesley's just simply going to develop his pieces and also wait and see with his own king.
I think Wesley might be picking a more dangerous approach than he normally does because he probably doesn't want to go to Armageddon against Andrew Tang. Andrew Tang has proved to be very, very strong in the guillotine Armageddon format. And maybe Wesley is thinking, okay, I'm going to try to win this game to avoid that part, the Armageddon stage. We see some more exchanges there, but personally, I feel this is just going to come down to whose king is going to be safest. And I love that last move from Andrew, even if the evaluation bar doesn't. The reason I love that move is the black king is in the middle, so you need to open up the middle. And with that pawn move, he's trying to open up, get rid of the black pawns in the middle of the board. Just get them out of the middle. Wesley moving his knight so he can come and capture that pawn. But I'm liking this for Andrew. I really like the way he's played this so far.
Yeah, me too. I think he needed to do this, otherwise Black had a very comfortable position. And Andrew, whoa, look at this. I didn't think he could do this. I thought he had to defend the pawn on c4, and Wesley chomping on that pawn as quickly as you can say anything. Ow. Oh my God, that is a move.
I don't know if it's a good move, but it's a move.
It is a move. I mean, Andrew just exploding open the position. You know, after all, the black king is far from safe, and the white knight is going to plonk itself down on d4 and start harassing both the bishop and the e6 pawn. It's a great thing to do when your opponent doesn't have so much time on the clock. And Andrew not attacking the queen, instead surprising us all by actually going for the c4 pawn.
I think that Andrew missed something with this. I think he missed that if his knight had come into the center, the black bishop would have simply have pinned it, and it doesn't work. Let's remember, it's 2 pawns after all. It's 2 whole pawns. So if you don't now checkmate, and Wesley's managed to get his king castled, you're going to be a lot of material down. Andrew now picking up the pace. He's managed to negotiate that to only a 1 pawn disadvantage, but 1 pawn is 1 pawn, and it's 1 pawn, and Wesley has the 2 bishops. So it didn't work. It was a lovely idea, but maybe a little bit too creative. Wesley now has a very sizable advantage.
Yeah, he does. But on the other hand, his king is still unsafe, and as the clock time trickles down, it's still not easy. There's still margin for error. And taking a look at the heart rates, 97 for Andrew Tang. Wesley So, well, his heart rate is on the high side as always, 153. Andrew, less than 20 seconds on the clock. He has to generate play. I mean, start centralizing the rooks. I was actually kind of thinking of pinning the black bishop and queen.
Yeah, he's centralized the rooks, but it's looking very tough for Andrew at the moment. He's got 15 seconds and he's got a bad position. He's got a material deficit of 1 pawn. That 1 pawn at this level could easily win the game. And look at that pawn. Wesley starting to use that to go forwards, to start pushing in the middle of the board. What's Andrew going to do here? Andrew's bishop is another major problem. Look at White's bishop on the right-hand side. The black pawns are trapping that bishop into the position. Wesley doing more very thematic ideas here, trying to swap off, and Andrew has sacrificed his queen. It may be a sign of desperation. What's he doing? He's going for a counter attack. Possibly his best chance. When your position is bad, take risks, roll the dice, have a little gamble. And, well, it is a queen, though, and a queen is a queen. A queen is a queen.
I mean, there was one big trap on the board, which, of course, Wesley is not falling for. He could not capture that pawn because of knight takes pawn check, which would fork the king and queen. And it's pawn takes pawn, bishop takes knight on the board. And now all that Wesley has to do is just capture the pawn on f6 and just use the magnificent power of the queen to start mopping up those pawns on the queen side.
It must be a winning position for Wesley, but can he keep his nerve? His heart rate is around the same, very high. He's got the queen for a bishop and a rook, and the queen is stronger than the bishop and the rook. The bishop and rook, they can't really coordinate together. We all know how strong the queen is. It can zap around the board like a stinging bee. And that was a good last move from Andrew because he's guarding that rook with his bishop. He gives a check, but now, I don't know, it just looks horrible for Andrew. The black pawn might be coming up the board. Here it comes. This could be the end for Andrew.
Okay, giving a check. I'm expecting queen takes pawn. No, he doesn't go for queen takes pawn. Instead, he attacks the bishop and the f2 pawn drops. And with that, the rook is going to fall and we see a resignation. And Wesley So wins the game.
Wesley So did indeed win, and he's through. I mean, let's remember Andrew does drop now to the lower bracket, so he's not out as of yet, but Wesley has won every match so far, and that was a fascinating game, but it just seemed like Andrew played this beautiful idea, but sometimes beauty can backfire, and it did. It backfired there. It was a lovely idea, but it wasn't quite calculated properly enough, and it was a little bit too risky, if anything, there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the clock is your own worst enemy, and I think here he needed minutes and maybe even hours to just get it to work in the right way. And when you don't have that luxury, well, things can quickly go wrong. And here we see Wesley's opening strategy just work out marvelously. You know, he gets his pieces in good squares. He's expanded as much as he can on the left side. And here it comes, pushing the pawn. I mean, Andrew has to do this, otherwise he's just much worse. And he breaks out, but unfortunately it's not sufficient.
Yeah, it was a nice idea, it just wasn't followed up in the correct way. And we can see here the white queen move towards the center, and this is one pawn down for Andrew, and he now plays this very imaginative idea, but it was just a little bit too much. And you can see how cynical Wesley was there. Cynical Wesley played the best move. He was like, okay, you give me a pawn, I take the pawn, thank you very much. He didn't believe it, and that is the actions of a very cool and collected player, as we know Wesley is. And this is where Andrew sacrificed his queen, but it was desperate, more desperation than anything else.
Absolutely desperate. I mean, before that, we just saw some perfect strategy from Wesley. You know, he just kills the counterplay. There's nothing for Andrew to do. And the rest is just Wesley using his extra material to win the game. And here you can see, he doesn't even bother to winning those pawns there on the queen side. Instead, he decides to actually attack the white king.
And this move was a killer idea. That pawn is just too strong, and the queen just caused far too many problems here, diving around the board, and that was the last mistake, that check forking the king and the rook there. So a very nice win. And we're now going to have an interview with Andrew, Tang and Fiona.
Andrew, you just lost your match against Wesley So. The second game especially was really exciting. Can you tell us a bit about that game to start?
Yeah, I was a little overambitious out of the opening, I think. I sacked these two pawns, but I just missed that he has this bishop d3 to block everything. So I had to kind of change strategies and play to equalize, but I don't know. He managed to just make sure I couldn't consolidate so easily, and yeah, I was considering some sacrifices on g5 earlier, but I couldn't see how they were working, so I was just down a pawn. I feel like it was a bit difficult after that.
It's quite unusual to see Wesley in this situation, you know, where he's just throwing all the pawns forward on the king side. Was that a pre-match strategy of yours to play something a bit more risky, more double-edged maybe?
I mean, I know Wesley's very well prepared, so I thought with white I would just play what I know and see what happens. And yeah, he surprised me a bit with this line. It's pretty aggressive, and I don't know, maybe I should have played a bit more solidly, but I thought I should go for the win there.
How did you prepare for this match against Wesley?
I mean, yeah, I did a lot of preparation with black actually, because I was more worried about losing with black, and with white I was just gonna play, and the black game worked out reasonably well, I think, so I'm pretty happy with my preparation.
This was only the first match you lost, which means you get another chance. Tomorrow you'll be facing Sam. First of all, did you see his match against Leinier, and what are your thoughts about that upcoming match?
Yeah, I saw parts of it, and he's been playing quite well this tournament, I'd say, so definitely a difficult match. Can't really say how it'll go. Yeah.
The other day, we asked you about, you know, do you have any pre-match routine here? What do you get up to? And you said you actually have some papers to write for university.
Yeah.
So how has that been going, and how has your time in Berlin been treating you?
Yeah, I finished 2 midterms, and then I had to do one more homework assignment yesterday, which was longer than I expected, so that was pretty sad. I mean, my time in Berlin, the chess has been fun, the homework has not been fun. I haven't really left my room still.
Are you planning to see something in Berlin before you leave?
Hopefully after I hopefully win tomorrow, yeah.
And what is your history of playing against them?
Yeah, I don't think we've really played. I've never played him in classical at least, and maybe we've played a couple times in blitz, but I don't really remember. So honestly, I don't have very much experience playing against him, so it should be fun.
Fantastic. Well, we look forward to seeing it. For now, thank you so much, Andrew. And back to the studio where Jovanka and Simon are with Wesley.
Well, it's great to have Wesley here, who was it quite a smooth match, do you think, or how would you sum it up?
Yeah, it went a bit better than I thought it would. Andrew is a speed specialist. I knew he was going to put up a good fight, and in a 2-game match, anything can happen, especially if it goes to the Armageddon where you have no increment. But it went well. It went better than I thought it would. I had some chances on game 1. Not really sure how big, but game 2 with Black was trying to play a solid position, but I had prepared this beforehand, this G5, H5 idea, and Black had absolutely no problems.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So it wasn't about avoiding the Armageddon, because we were speculating on that you were playing it very aggressively, taking as much space as possible just to avoid an Armageddon face-off against Andrew.
No, I had a good position, G5, H5. This line is harmless for Black. The thing is, Andrew has played this London with Bishop F4 hundreds of times. He's a very principled player who knows his openings very well, but he plays very limited. But I thought on the second move, White should play Knight F3 and then after Knight F6, then Bishop F4. Because in the game, I didn't have to place my Knight on F6, and I got this extra idea of F6, G5, and I knew Black has a very comfortable position. Well, my strategy was, to play solidly, and if you have to go to an Armageddon, then you get there. But it's very funny, actually, because to draw pieces for the Armageddon, the arbiter just makes you choose between 2 hands, and I always get White every single time. Now, I'm not sure if White is easier in the Armageddon or Black is. But if it goes to the Armageddon, then it is what it is. But I really dislike playing without an increment.
Yeah. And we're going to show you a middle game moment. So this is where he's just broken out with c4, obviously. And how were you feeling when you saw the move d5 on the board?
Well, I was actually pretty pleased because I had the bishop there. I had 2 pawns up, and I saw that after. D5 looked scary in the beginning, but I saw that I could always blockade the d file by playing bishop d3. And in the worst case, I just give my pawn back. And with the bishop pair, I had a very safe position. But in the end, actually, maybe he had some drawing chances here in the queen endgame. Maybe he's. White is, of course, on the verge of losing, but his main blunder, I guess, was putting the rook on b8. He has to, but probably it's almost impossible to defend. After b6, king g5, he couldn't stop h4, and his king becomes very weak, and then the game's over. Maybe if he didn't play rook b6, he probably should still lose in the long run, so I don't know. I thought rook f8 check.
That pawn was very strong on the side of the board. And how are you finding this tournament so far? It's probably a bit different to a lot of other tournaments you played in, right? It's very, very quick, and you get a lot of time, right?
Yeah, it's so much different. This is the fastest tournament I've ever played. Of course, the format's very exciting. It's double elimination. I like it because if you lose one, you still have another life. But it's the first ever format that I played in. I had more rest days here than games. Before this tournament, I played a classical tournament in Dusseldorf, and the games, you play 9 games, and the games there last 5 hours, 6 hours every time. So
So you mentioned that you had rest days. I mean, what have you been doing? Have you been preparing? I mean, do you bring up the old-fashioned board at the clock?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had some exercise. We took long walks in Berlin, but nothing really too stressful. And then I took a quick look at my opponent's games. And yeah, actually, now that you mentioned it, we borrowed the chessboard from the head of the chess club here. I'd like to thank Mike. He lent us a very nice chess set. So I've been sparring with other players because I've been practicing a lot online, but it's very different working on the chessboard. It's so much better.
Well, I'm still waiting for my sparring request.
Yeah. No, actually, I was gonna challenge you yesterday.
Okay. I shouldn't have said that. When you say challenge me, do you mean destroy me? Okay.
No, you're
But we can have a look at the bracket anyway and see where you're standing now. And so far, you're well, I'm going to say cruising through. It's not ever a cruise, but there you are, and you're going to play the winner of the match between Sam and Andrew. I believe.
Yeah, I was going to ask you your thoughts about this. Who do you think will be victorious, if I can pin you down to that, between Sam and Andrew?
Well, it's hard to say because I thought Leinier was going to win today. But after my game against Sam, I've been watching his matches. He's been playing better and better. Like he did very well every single day. Like I thought he's not exactly a speed player, as he keeps repeating, but he seems to be improving day after day. Maybe he's doing some practice too, but it's hard to say. In a two-game match, anything can really happen. Of course, Sam is the favorite and is higher rated and all that. He's the much more experienced grandmaster. But if it goes to Armageddon, I give it a 50-50 chance.
50-50. And when it comes to Armageddon, do you think it favors white or black?
It depends who you're playing. Depends whether you get good positions in the opening. If you get good positions with black, then it's much preferable to be black. But like we see in the Leinier game yesterday, he got a tremendous position right out of the opening with white. But I think 5+4 is favorable for the black side.
For the black side, you think it's easier to be solid?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah, just play fast moves and try to even out in the clock. Yeah, I think black should be preferable, but there are many different time controls in Armageddon. So.
And have you had a favourite thing that you've seen in Berlin so far, or general sightseeing?
Well, I love the Brandenburg Gate now. We see it every single day.
Yes, famous landmark here in Berlin. And the sparring partner, are you beating up everyone you're sparring with so far? Or are they giving you a good challenge?
Let's see, I've been playing some of the players who've been this tournament, sparring in the hotel here and there. I think it's good. You want to do badly on practice games and do better in the tournament. Yep. So I was in college, I remember 10 years ago, and I remember we played so many blitz games. We'd play from 9 in the evening till 12 in the morning. So those were the good old days, and I just love chess. I can play any day. The same time, you don't want to overstress yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're so close to winning, just one match left.
Oh.
How would you celebrate?
No, actually today was big because I think I qualified for the finals right in September. Yes. So that's all I'm really looking forward to. But then
the top 2 players in this competition, they qualify for the grand final.
Yeah, that's all I'm aiming. That's all really I'm aiming for when I come back to Berlin. But it's nice too because tomorrow I have some allowance, like I can go all out in the first match and then.
And have you been monitoring your heart rate? Because we see that you start quite high, I have to say, Wesley, around about the 120, 130.
You got lower now. Now that the games are done.
It's gone even up to 170.
I think it did get up to 170 today. So it's
today?
Yes.
Yeah, 170.
I don't know if just the first day I was.
No. At one point, I think it went quite high.
Were you gonna call the ambulance?
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit worried at the moment, weren't we? But I'm glad it's come back down again now.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I played Magnus Carlsen in Norway 3.5 years ago, and we were wearing this too. And I realized I noticed that he has a very low heart rate, like 80s, 90s, and he maintains that. So, not exactly sure, but I'm still quite young.
It seems to be working. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, you know. So it's doing the job. And yeah, I mean, we've only got this one match to go. And how are you going to relax tonight then? Playing more chess?
Oh, I'm gonna watch the replay of the Sam Shankland against Leinier Dominguez. See what, and yeah, I watched all your videos also yesterday, and I really like the commentary.
Oh, wow! Thank you.
About the also the part where you kick the child in.
this famous part from yesterday, which Ivanka
I got so
admitted.
much grief from that because they said, and you laughed about it too, but I was like, I was literally a child. So yeah, sorry about that.
So
He
you
got
have
you
to
in the
look at the highlights on YouTube. They're all on YouTube on the World Chess site. Just go there, have a look, and you can see when Ivanka got a lot of happiness from kicking a child.
Yeah, also there's, I mean, the time control is very short here. There's just every second is exciting. You can't really miss any part. So.
Definitely. Well, Wesley, thank you so much. It's great to have you in, and obviously good luck and well done for qualifying. So that's fantastic. So,
Yeah. Thank
Brilliant.
you so much. Yeah.
Congratulations, yeah. Good luck in the next games.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'd like to mention one of the official partners of the series is IT.com. And IT.com is a domain registry like no other. It provides a platform for anyone to create innovative domains and effectively showcase their online presence. So don't miss this opportunity. Go visit IT.com today and create your unique online image.
One of the things I've really enjoyed about being here is the fact that you get to know the players a bit better. You know, I watch a lot of these players at home, but when you actually chat to them, they're pretty nice guys. Wesley's a real gentleman, lovely chap, as are all the players. And I'm glad that the highlights was of your story about kicking a young child. Now we won't go into that again because it's on the World Chess video. And what can we do? Everyone's got to get their. Everyone wants to get their entertainment from somewhere.
Yeah.
And Wesley also said he wants to crush me in some blitz games. That would be an honour to be crushed by Wesley.
I was thinking about that. I was thinking, yeah, we should take everyone on, get some time odds, you know?
Yeah.
Give them 30 seconds, 1 minute, and we can have like 3 minutes.
Yeah, we can
do
have
this.
a go. You know, on our day, we might be. Are we allowed to kick them when we're playing them? Is that, you know, maybe we can do that. Ivanka would love that.
Simon just does not let it go.
I like pushing all the way.
And there we have the brackets, and we'll set it up all very nicely for the final day. So first off, we will see the big matchup between Sam Shankland and Andrew Tang in the lower bracket, and whoever is the victor there will go up and challenge Wesley So again. And just to remind everyone, if the person coming up from the lower bracket actually wants to win the competition, they will need to beat Wesley twice, which is no mean feat.
I mean, beating him once is incredibly hard to do.
It's a huge ask, yeah.
Yeah, so beating him twice is going to be so hard. So Wesley is obviously the favourite at the moment, and as he mentioned, the top two players are qualified for the grand final, which is going to be super strong. I mean, this is the American leg. We're even going to get a women's leg, and are you going to be playing?
Absolutely.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, I'm going to be there on my laptop. I'm going to try for the qualifying. If I don't try, well...
Do you reckon if I wore a disguise, I could sneak
into
that?
Yes, Simona Williams. Why not?
with my beard. Yeah, that would work. Might be a bit worrying. But yeah, there's plenty of good tournaments where people can qualify for this. And we are, again, last day is tomorrow, so you've got to make sure you tune in. There's only one more day left, and it's going to be very, very exciting. It's the same time, which is 7 p.m. CET, and World Chess is where you want to find it. You've got the YouTube, you've got Twitch, and make sure you have a look at the other stuff on the YouTube channel. Some really quality interviews with our great friend Fiona, and loads of stuff there.
Loads of interesting tidbits of information. And tomorrow we will find out who is going to the grand final in September. And that's just going to be awesome. We're going to see some incredible matchups. And of course, we will see Armageddon.
Oh, we didn't get a chance to say it, so let's just say it. We've got to say it.
This is Armageddon. Come, give me this, Simon.
Okay, well that's us over and out. Make sure you come back tomorrow, and thank you very much for watching today. Bye.